Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Beltran. This is our first episode of MakeWater Currents. We have Brooke here from Youth Code Jam, Brooke Haley. And we've been working together for, I don't know, a little while now. And so I'm excited to kind of have this be our first kickoff interview for our podcast. How you doing, Brooke?
I'm great. Thanks for having us, Ryan. And yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
been almost a year. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
since we kind of
Uh,
started on our partnership.
And I'm excited to dive into it because there's some really cool things that we've been doing that y'all have like just like augmented and made so much better because so Youth Code Jam has the coding background. I'm not particularly a coder. I've tinkered with things, but I don't want to go and try and say I'm a coder and teach coding. It's so wonderful to be able to work with y'all and have that sort of like symbiotic relationship between the nonprofits. So I guess I'll go ahead and dive in. Can you tell us a bit about the mission and goals of Youth Code Jam and what inspired the creation of Youth Code Jam?
Sure. So Youth Code Jam is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we began in 2016, but our story started a little bit before that. Our founder, Debbie Fitzenmeyer, was looking for a coding camp for her son, and she couldn't find anything that was really affordable or really made sense. And so she decided that she was going to, I like to say she used her mom power, and she decided to put together a community event. And that is what started our community code jams that we have. And so that's kind of our signature event. And she came from a PR background, so she used her connections and was able to fund the event. And so the first Youth Code Jam, Community Code Jam was in 2012. And that's really what grew and inspired the beginning of starting the nonprofit. So she hosted those for 4 years before we officially became a nonprofit. And our mission is to create inclusive opportunities for all youth to experience computer science and explore with code. And we do that through kind of four avenues. And we can dig into them a little bit more, but we do after school coding clubs, summer camps, community events, and teacher professional development.
Cool. That's an awesome, I didn't know that. That's a pretty cool like way to like when you see a need, you just and I love the mom power, just do it. Like if nobody's doing that, I'll do it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so Youth Code Jam has a variety of programs, uh, uh, and so some of them like low sensory code jams to brain breaks. Could you highlight some of these key programs? I mean, I guess you kind of touched on them, but you can go a little bit further in depth if you'd like. I'd like to hear more.
Sure. So the students that we really seek to serve are those that are most underrepresented in the tech industry as far as careers and opportunities for future growth and whatnot. And so one of those groups is neurodivergent students. And so we have a large focus on creating low sensory events. We actually have a partnership with the Autism Community Network here in San Antonio,
Mm,
and we do an after school coding club for third to fifth graders at their location. And then we have done summer camps for middle high school students with them. And so we are excited to have our fourth camp happening this summer. And then we'll be bringing back our coding club again in the next school year. And they've just been a really outstanding partner in being able to provide us with additional support in making sure that when we're working with students that are neurodivergent, that we're setting up our space to be accessible, to be inclusive, to make sure that it's a really thriving environment for them, and also just how to sort of manage their behavior and use it in a way that helps sort of refocus or helps guide them to continue experiencing computer science or coding. And so we can do that in a variety of different ways, but they've also done some training for our staff, which is amazing. And they are creating
mm.
they're creating like an onboarding training for me right now. that's going to allow when I hire new staff members, they'll be able to go through modules and kind of take quizzes and things like that, so that they are as prepped as possible to be able to work with students. Because we know even outside of our, dedicated programs for those, we see a lot of neurodivergent students. And so it's really good for not only our staff, but our volunteers. And so this will be a great opportunity for us to have this kind of training tool.
Wow, that's great. I love to see how in detail and how y'all learn and evolve and kind of grow that and have it be something that new people on staff can come and learn and be better at.
Mhm.
So how do you ensure that your programs are accessible and inclusive to all youth, regardless of their background or prior experience with coding?
So it's very important to us to make sure that we sort of eliminate the barriers that exist for any student to be able to just get to any of our programs, right? So we don't serve any students at our office. We go to the students. So that transportation
Mm,
is always a huge issue. And so we really work to make sure that we're able to get to the school, get to the organization, get to the community center. We bring all our own equipment. Usually we just ask for maybe some Wi-Fi and a projector, but honestly, we can do
mhm,
things without that too. So we've really tried to make sure that we can accommodate, because sometimes we go to areas and they don't have access to those. So we want to make sure that we are prepared for kind of all scenarios. And again, we are constantly training our staff and constantly working on improvement to make sure that we're able to create success for our students. We really want to show the students that coding is a creative practice and it's a modern literacy. And we really want them to see that they can have success, they can belong in this space. Belonging is it's one of our values. So it's a huge component of what we do. And a lot of times students are coming to us and this is their first time that they're being exposed to coding or computer science. And so we want to make
mhm.
sure that they're having a really great experience, they're having fun, we create that success, and then they feel like they belong in that space. So hopefully in the future, when they're presented with another opportunity, they say, hey, I know I can do that, I've done it before, and yeah, I want to keep going with that. So we really do try our best to think ahead of time, plan ahead, and make sure that what we're doing is really allowing any student to participate, no matter their level of coding, no matter their schooling, no matter sort of their life situations. We want to create a space where they can be them and they can be creative and have fun.
I think the just thinking on that answer, I mean, coding can be like intimidating, you know? So like y'all, I feel like having worked with y'all, I've seen what y'all do and how you break things down and make it simple and less intimidating and more inviting. I think that's a great superpower that y'all kind of have. You make it look easy, but I know y'all have a lot of experience and work hard to set up these like from our end, we've seen the worksheets of how you've uh, just broken down our components and made it easy to code for students. So that's really great that y'all do that and just hearing it and then having it click again that y'all are making something that can be really tough, really like accessible. And that's great. I think that's very needed. So for the next question, collaboration is key in the nonprofit world, and we love to work with Youth Code Jam here at MakeWater. We recently got together for a family day event with SAWS and introduced conservation robotics to participants. Is there anything you would like to highlight from that event or our collaboration? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we've discovered is that sometimes, as you mentioned, coding and computer science can seem intimidating, right? And so one of the things that we like to do is sort of introduce concepts through other avenues, through other interests, right? So a lot of students, will do it through literature or through history or through sports. And
Mhm.
so I think MakeWater allows us to sort of introduce it from a science component and a water component that we don't always get to like this allows us to be creative too, right? Thinking of new ways to sort of take an idea or take an interest of students and sort of like kind of turn it and say, you can have interest in this and you can have interest in this. And here's how they can work together. So I really see that the two things that we do really complement one another in that component, and you just never know what's going to like spark a student's interest. And so I think when when Max created the scratch game, I think it was really cool because a lot of kids are visual learners, and so I think sometimes it's nice to see what's going to happen beforehand. Some kids want to see it happen and they don't want to know, right?
Hmm.
So I think it allows the opportunity for all different types of learners, like however the kids want to experience it, they can experience it through the different sort of setups that we had. So they can either play the game first and see kind of what's happening, they could do the kit first, they can kind of do a little bit of both. So I think it's a nice opportunity that sort of expands both of our reaches and both of our
Hmm.
abilities through what we've created together.
Yeah, actually, so just to dive in further, that scratch game that you and Max made was honestly just amazing. Like it was, I'm a visual learner. When you said that, like that's me right here. Like I like to be hands-on or see something, see it in action. And uh, it had changed having that game there. We would put it on the iPad now, and even at some events, we're like learning this like new workflow of like how to introduce what we do to students. And so this game is basically our electrodes, uh, just like our coagulator kit. These electrodes, and you touch the electrodes, and you can either do it on iPad with your touch or with the on a computer browser with the mouse. And you go, and it like empowers your little like cursor, and you go and grab all the pollutants in the water and collect them all. And that's really what happens in the kit itself. So it was so wonderful that Max like and y'all were just able to make that, and it's become a new staple or like a new part of our workflow because we can say, hey, here's like real quick, I can tell you what it does, but then you can also see it and play with it and interact with it. And then the next step could be putting the kit together, or they can jump right to the kit. So that option has just been wonderful, and I'm excited for that, and that students get to learn to like how to code that. So actually, on that said, our next question is, so what are some of your most memorable experiences when working with youth? Like, do you have a success story or something that just stands out with the history of you working there? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the kids that we get to see are just awesome, right? And I feel like we get to be a fun part of their day. Oftentimes we're always like, we're not school. This is not for a grade. Like
Yeah.
as I mentioned, we want to show them that this is a creative practice, and this is something. I think the other part that we really try to sort of instill is that even if you don't end up in a technology field or in a field with coding, all the skills that you're learning, the computational thinking, um, you know, the creativity, like all of that can apply to any parts of your life, right? And anything that you pursue. Um, we've had a lot of students that have come through our programs. I think the one that kind of stands out to me is Quentin. So Quentin started with us as a participant in summer camp, and then he ended up doing a fellowship with his high school, and he created a coding club at his high school and did the fellowship with us. And then we hired him to come work for us for the summer when he was in high school. And then he went to A&M San Antonio, and he stayed on as an assistant instructor with us throughout his entire time at A&M San Antonio. He graduated. We then promoted him to lead instructor, and he just left in November. So he got a job doing data stuff that was what he was pursuing, and so it was really sad to see him go. But we know he'll be involved in Youth Code Jam for years to come. And we've had some other. Leslie's another one of our students that was a participant and then came and worked for us during the summer. And she's about to graduate at Texas Tech. And so it's just been really cool to see, the stories of how students sort of have been able to evolve through Youth Code Jam, but also we know just from interacting with students that we see at our events or through our camps, we'll see kids a couple years, and they keep coming back, and they're
Mhm.
really excited to share like what they've learned and how they've evolved. The other day I was at coding club, and we had a student, and he hadn't been able to come for the last couple of months, and he was quick to
Mm.
say, I've been practicing and I've gotten really good. And he really did. I mean, he was like over there just coding like crazy. And so it's really fun to see sort of their enthusiasm, and when they
Mhm.
do, have that success, or when you can realize that they really feel like they belong there. It's just, I can't describe, like, it that makes it all worth it, right?
Yeah, you can tell like as you tell the story, like it's very like infectious, the feeling of just like being able to change somebody's life, or having like turning a switch that they maybe didn't know was there or have access to. Those are the wonderful stories to hear. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna shift gears and kind of move to AI. So there's been a lot of discussion in the tech community about the role of AI in coding, its potential to automate or even replace aspects of programming. Where are your thoughts on this controversy, and how do you see it affecting the future of coding education for young people? Do you see any opportunities for Youth Code Jam to integrate AI tools or concepts into your programs?
Yeah, so I think when new things come, and they're all shiny and exciting,
Hmm.
um, I don't think it's appropriate to sort of shy away from them. I think you need to sort of embrace them, and then figure out, okay, it's here, how does that exist within what we do? And I think, I've had a couple people ask me about this, and right now there's still, like, coding still has to exist because you still have to teach AI how to do things, right? You still have to give them a pathway, right? You still have to show them how to learn. You still have to put things together. So I don't see that. I think it's only going to enhance coding, and the opportunities that exist out there. You could have said this, 20 years ago. Oh, these things are going to become non-existent, but we're ever evolving. And so I think that I don't think it's going to, I think it's just going to maybe change the way we approach some things, and or maybe the way that things are done, right? But things have always evolved, right? We've evolved from text-based coding to the block-based, the visual programming, to even pre-reader blocks. So, we've gone to concepts where all ages can figure out how to do some concept of coding. So I feel like that it's still going to be around. And I think it will affect coding education to an extent of sort of the gaming aspect too. I think a lot of kids, and a lot of parents also just see coding as like gaming, or just being on your computer is not a good thing. You're just gaming. You're not you're not really learning anything. And what we really try to do is educate more about, yes, your child could go into gaming, but here's all of the pieces that would have to happen. Like, they still have to have strong math skills. They have to, there's more than just developing. There's more than just art. There's more than just, um, sort of making something that, people enjoy. There are actual things that have to go into building and game development itself. And so I think those things are still going to exist for AI. It's just we have to find out what those are, right? And what those things look like, and how to sort of translate that into what futures could look like for today's youth.
I think that's a great approach, because I mean, even I think when ChatGPT and stuff started to come out, and it was affecting education. I think somebody even kind of mentioned like the calculator did that when it came out. Like it came out, and educators were like, "You're just gonna like it's gonna ruin things because you can just calculate it now." But no, you just adjust the bar. Like you change how you educate, and you're always going to need to check that work. Like you're probably going to have to go and get nitty gritty with the code. But then, even while you were talking, I was thinking like it could also introduce people to coding, like because they now have a little bit. more access to something that helps you code, maybe they'll get interested where maybe they weren't before. So it's another way for them to go, okay, I want to pursue this further. And I think y'all's approach and y'all being right there to be able to like work with youth to continue that passion or unfold it further is great. So looking ahead, what are some goals and aspirations you have for Youth Code Jam in the coming years? Is there anything you would like to add for those who might want to get involved?
So, I mean, gosh, I feel like maybe the opportunities are endless to a point, but I mean, I think our main thing is we just want to be able to, introduce as many students as possible to computer science and coding and really computational thinking. I think again, that's something that can carry you in any field, no matter what you do. And I think belonging is also kind of our biggest thing because it is a really tough space to feel like you have the confidence, you feel like you belong. And this is especially for girls. Girls is one of our areas that students that we seek to serve as well. As much as we think growth has happened of like major companies like Microsoft, Google, um, only 25% of their tech employees are female. So it is
Oh,
still like we still have a huge needle to move to get
yeah.
further. And, I'll talk to our staff, our instructors. Most of them are college students, and most of them are majoring in computer science or something of that avenue. And they still say that there's only like 3 or 4 girls in their classes. And it's crazy to me because it feels like we've made more strides, but we haven't, right? And so I think just continuing to do the work that we're able to do and really be intentional about creating those inclusive spaces and creating a sense of belonging is really what will drive Youth Code Jam, in the future. And I think that is what continues to drive us today, but we're just going to have to keep getting better and better at it to make sure that students are knowing that this is a space for them and this is something that exists for them. And I think just also, continuing partnerships. Partnerships has been a really amazing component of Youth Code Jam, and it's allowed us to get our work out there we're a tiny small staff, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
not always easy to be able to be everywhere all the time, right? But with our partnerships, we're able to really engage and really sort of get our work further than what we can just do as a staff ourselves. And so I think we're going to continue down that route too, because it's really important work that we're all doing. And if we can all do it together, just think how great things will be.
And I mean, y'all's project it's great when we work together and we sort of try to inspire each other with our work, and y'all really do that. Like it really inspires us what y'all do, your reach and your openness to evolution and learning new ways of working with students and continuing to push forward. It was exciting to have you here and like interview you. I know we've, worked together for a little while now. But I'm excited to share this with everybody. And yeah, I want to thank you for coming, being on our first interview of this podcast, and look forward to continuing our partnership. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Ryan, for having us. And I did forget to mention you asked me how did people could get involved, but we do
Yes.
have many, many volunteer opportunities throughout the year.
Hmm.
So you can go to our website and apply to be a volunteer. And we have community events at least once every month. And then we have our 3 community jams throughout the year. So there's plenty of opportunities to get involved with us and volunteer as well.
What's the website?
It's youthcodejam.org.
Perfect. Okay, now everybody can go check that out right now. Awesome. Well, thanks for having you, and we'll be hanging out soon at our next event.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much,
Awesome.
Ryan.